time to try and keep the discipline. I'm going to do a very quick introduction to tell you why we have Amy here today. Amy walked into the building and she was based in London, and I think a lot of us have had that experience of working in London. I myself actually used to work in London, put on a suit in the morning and go into the office. It's a distant memory. So Amy's story was quite relatable. She's also a creative activist. My first creative activist. I don't believe I've ever met one before. But interestingly, what we do know that is that it's quite difficult to make a living from being a creative. Amy has somehow managed to do that, so that's very interesting. And finally, we really love the story where somebody has grown up here, gone away, got experience, and made various connections in capital abroad, and then comes back and uses that to make a difference back home. So we're really happy that Amy has decided to move back to Jeffrey's Bay.
That's news to me. Okay.
Cool. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
You, Amy. Sorry.
No pressure. So I'm going to speak about the Arty Party, and it's something that I did in London when I lived in London, and I'm probably going to be doing one. I am going to be doing one next week, Wednesday. So this is just an advert for next Wednesday. And I will tell you a bit about it so that when you come next Wednesday, hopefully when you come next Wednesday, you will be ready to rock and roll and enjoy it. So the question I'm going to try and answer, along with telling you a bit about my story, is how did I trick suits in London into making art on a Friday night after a busy week in the city. But first, a little bit about myself. My name's Amy. I grew up in slummies, and that's East London if you're not from South Africa. And then I used to come here. My gran, she lived past Cape St. Francis, so I would come Decembers and spend many weeks on the coast. But then when I was 14, my parents unfortunately moved to Joburg, so I was dragged to Johannesburg. I was there for 10 years and then went to London. Not sure why, but I think it was the British passport probably. And also the city looked exciting. So I was there, and that's when I started doing Arty Parties. But first, just a little detour. I want everyone to stand up. And okay, we're gonna dance. Okay, no, I'm joking. We can just stretch. Everyone stretch, just lift your arms, move a little bit. If you feel like a dance, you can. If not, that's okay. Okay, anyway, you can sit down now. Okay, so that was a little detour. And that's the first thing I've learned about creativity is it's filled with detours. And it's uncomfortable sometimes. So standing up and dancing is uncomfortable, but it's good for you. It is also fun. So even if it's uncomfortable, it can be fun. So how did I trick corporate Londoners into making art? Well, it's quite simple. Cheese and wine. They like to drink, so you just say you're going to have some wine and some cheese, and they will be there. So that's what I did initially, and then the art was just kind of like a little add-on to the whole experience. So what is an Arty Party? There is some art making, and there's some wine. So lots of merrymaking and lots of art making, and it's basically like a cheese and wine meets a kids art class. There's very little instruction, but there's some instruction, And there's lots of bottles of wine. Anyone can come. It's an open invite. You come when you will. So it's really just like a relaxed environment. I want people to be relaxed so that they can engage in something that's a little bit different. Why have I done this? There's only one rule. There's one rule. And that is that you're not allowed to say that you can't do it. So basically, I don't want to hear like I'm not creative, and that's the only rule. Otherwise, there are no rules. Cool. So why did I do this? Well, I ended up in London in the midst of the pub culture, and I was quite bored with just sitting around drinking and chit-chatting, and so I had experience in being creative, and I knew the benefits of it, and I wanted to sort of pull in all my friends to do something I wanted to do, and I thought cheese and wine would be the way to do it. So how did I end up here? I found this saying to be true. Picasso said that all children are artists, and the problem is how to remain an artist as you grow up. I think this is true. So I believe everyone is an artist, but life just takes us in a certain direction sometimes, and we sort of lose that part of ourselves. So I said that I would talk about my journey from accounting to art. So I'm going to just briefly sort of go through that. I grew up youngest of four. My parents were busy. There was a period of time we didn't have a television. So I had lots of time to just explore and be creative, and there wasn't a lot of like structure. So that's what I did. Naturally, I made and I created things. Then when I became a teenager, it started as an expression, a form of expression, and then it became sort of like a form of therapy. Like, I'd write mopey songs on the guitar to sort of process my teenage angst. But there were a few moments that, one particular moment, I was actually near Cape St. Francis, and I had the first experience of the problem. I was trying to copy a drawing. I think it was by like Da Vinci or Michelangelo or one of those greats. And I was doing it, and the voice was so clear, it's so vivid, I still remember it. I could just hear, what are you trying to do? Like who do you think you are? Like, you're not Michelangelo. Why are you doing this? And I internalized it a little bit. And I think that was one of the things that sort of deterred me a little bit. But anyway, I carried on. But that voice is something that held me back for a bit. And I just went down the track. And I ended up doing a BCom and studying accounting and economics and management and all of those wonderful subjects. But yeah, it was always sort of in me. I had a place in art school, and I turned that down because I was too scared of being a struggling artist. And then, I kind of eventually realized like I needed to create. Because life was just not as enjoyable if I didn't. So anyway, I slowly found my way back and started in graphic design and started making more and just creating my own projects to make. So creativity takes courage, and I've realized that creativity is a way of being, and that it can benefit all parts of your life. You can follow the rules in life, or if they don't work for you, you can be creative. And sometimes the rules don't work, or the circumstances don't allow us to follow a set route. And so creativity is something that helps us navigate challenges and things that we can't really answer clearly. So yeah, back to London. This is a piece of art by an artist, Adele Weber. She was in the sort of pop-up art era in New York, and it's called Munchkins 1, 2, and 3. And she was married to a lawyer who worked in Manhattan, and so she had an up-close perspective of what it means to be a corporate in a big city. So in London, this is what you get. People every day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night, after work, in their suits, standing outside when the weather's okay, and just drinking, and it gets a bit tiresome after a while. But I wanted to do something different. Initially it started with an idea that art works for good. I knew it worked for good for me, and maybe it would work good for others. And I had a little manifesto. So this is my original little process of, okay, what am I going to do? And I wanted to sort of, for me, it's about culture living a sort of before consuming, creating. So I wanted to focus on process over the product, creativity over the creation, the end goal, collaborating over having control of something, and then humanity over hero, which is basically, some people think, oh, you have to be a genius to be an artist, but that's not true. There's only, it's about all of us, basically. So in the beginning, I started in the beginning, and my first one was on a Saturday, 2014. 2 people came. I was one of them, and there was one of my other friends. So it was just the 2 of us. But then I realized maybe Saturday is not so great. Maybe we need to just change the branding a little bit. And that's when the cheese and wine ideas came about. So it went from there to, it actually took me a whole year from that 2014 October. I was looking at the events on Facebook, and the next event I did was a whole year later in October 2015 was the first, and 6 people came, so that was some multiplication. So we did all sorts of things, ink drawings, Matisse cutouts, in autumn painting leaves, drawing flowers, a single line drawing where you stand on one side of the table and you take a pen and you somehow make something and walk and draw at the same time. So it was always sort of a little bit different. I did an Arty party in a shoe shop, which was fun. And one of my favorites, building a haiku, which is a Japanese 3-line poem, and everyone put words into like a little bucky and then taking them out, and people didn't create like amazing poetry, but it's fun. That's basically what it is. It's fun. So these are a few. I cry tears downhill. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Falling hurts friends. It's very, very deep stuff. Okay, so another detour. We're going to do a drawing exercise. And Steffi's going to hand out some paper. So this drawing exercise, don't be intimidated. I'll walk you through it. Is based on a book a theory by Betty Edwards, and she talked about drawing on the right side of your brain. So she developed this exercise where we learn to engage in our right side of our brain, and the way we do it is we're all normally in our left side, and how you engage with your right side is you flip things around, because then your brain doesn't know logically how to process the information. It's like, I'm not used to an upside down world. How do I do this? So we're no longer thinking logically left side, we're now engaging in our right side of our brain. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to do this. So I want you to just draw what you see and allow yourself to engage in the right side of your brain. Just engage with, don't see a horse, see the top, and just see the shapes, and just go for it. Just go for it. So this is all based on like neuroscience about how the brain works, the left and right side. We normally most activities we use both sides of our brain, but there's certain activities where you use only your left side or only your right side, and drawing is one of those activities that really engages your right side of your brain and takes you out of your left side, which is normally dominant in culture.
Amy, I have a question. So we need to draw like the normal form?
Just draw what you see.
Draw what you see.
Draw what you see.
Okay.
Yeah. Just look and draw it. Yeah. Don't draw a horse.
Okay.
Okay. Basically, I'm going to move on. The point of that. Okay, sorry. Okay, I'm just looking at this timer. Michael's like.
Stop the time.
Okay, I'm gonna draw it in there. What do we learn when we learn to draw? Basically, it helps us engage and move our brains from our dominant, generally, most people, not everyone, dominant left side and move into the right side. And yeah, flip it around and look at it and see what you think. It trains you to engage your brain in a different way, and then helps you with, if you can learn to like transfer your sort of mode of thinking from sort of analytical, like you know what you see, you draw what you think you see, to let me flip this around and look at something differently. That can help in all areas of life, any challenges, if things are not like linear and clear. So creative problem solving, it will help in all sorts. The point of that was just to help you think differently, and to look differently at making art. So a quick couple of lessons that I learned through doing these Arty Parties. Imposter syndrome is universal. Everyone experiences it. I experience it. Tim was talking about it. He's been creating for years. And, you know, whether you are an accountant or an artist, everyone experiences imposter syndrome. You should not let that stop you. We all have the voice in our head, and that's the critic. And the critic is to help us navigate through the world sometimes, but it's not to help us create. We all need a cheerleader. So I had a cheerleader. I was lucky. Like, my father really believed in me being an artist. He cheerleaded me, and my mum as well. But Arty Parties, I knew like I just needed to encourage people, and you give them a push, and we encourage each other. We all need it. There is a creative energy loop. It takes a bit of energy to create, but then you get it back. It multiplies. So even if it takes a bit of energy, it returns. This is a quote from one of our participants. She said she's a lawyer. She was quite a rigid lawyer. She's still a little bit, but less. She's a bit more relaxed. And she said it was about tuning out of a hectic week and tuning into something quiet and uplifting. Other thing, creativity is a muscle. The more that you create, the more creative you become, and it helps with all areas of life. It's like building anything, building any muscle. It helps you move through the world. And it builds confidence. Creativity and engaging in art making, you are faced with the unknown, uncertainty, and when you realize you just try and life's not going to end, it builds confidence for life's uncertainties and for doing things that maybe make you feel a bit uncomfortable and pull you out of your comfort zone. And lastly, it is fun, generally. 100% of people didn't regret coming to Arty Party. As you can see from these wonderful faces of smiles of people. And lastly, what is art anyway? I think we have this idea of what it is, but just to give you a picture of what some people have thought of as art. This is a famous piece of work. It's the urinal by R. Mutt, signed R. Mutt, but actually it's by an artist, Marcel Duchamp, and he was in conceptual art. He placed this in a gallery, and he was saying, this is art. So yeah, that's art, and it's worth, I don't know how much, but it's millions and millions. Actually, I think it's lost, to be honest. This is another piece of art by two famous artists. Also New Yorkers, they're quite cheeky. This one artist duped another artist into giving him a drawing of his, and then he erased it. And he presented it at an art exhibition. And so yes, this is an erased drawing artwork. So really the moral of the story is to just make it, because whatever you're feeling to express, if you label it art, it could be art, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it, and hopefully it'll benefit yourself, and others will maybe look at something differently. So one little plug for Arty Party. Next week, Wednesday, we're going to be doing an Arty Party, so it would be great to have you guys join. And there'll be some wine and there'll be some art. So yeah, thank you very much.
Cool, thanks, Amy.
Sure.
We'll get on to the practicalities of how to look out for the details of this in a moment. But as usual, question time. Let's open up the floor to questions. Okay. Nina, then Donnie.
I don't have any questions, just like good reminders, even though like I'm a creative, you still need all those reminders.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I tell people to tell myself, part of the reason I've been doing this is because I need to reinforce the message to my own brain and just coach myself, and encourage myself.
Yeah, especially the energy one. Like you find yourself saying, I don't have energy to do this right now. But
Yeah.
when you do it, it's like
Energy multiplies. Yeah, great. Yeah. No, I only did 2 years of accounting at university. Okay. Yeah, so third year I escaped it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, now I have to do my accounting because I'm self-employed. I'm a freelancer, so okay. I have not totally escaped it, but yeah.
No one does.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think labels in galleries are pretty important. I think like the urinal one probably could almost stand on its own, but people weren't sure like who R. Mutt was. Like that wasn't a known artist. So he did also, by putting that name on the piece of art, and that wasn't his name, it was like, I guess it creates the story as well. And then with the drawing of the non-drawing, the artist knew that like this other artist was erasing his drawing, like he found out afterwards. So there was that story. So I do think that story is a big thing because, our lives, we have stories, we are stories. But I don't know. My advice would be just make it. Yeah, just make it, just do it. Nike was right, I think. Just make and share. Like I think that's, you don't know what people will like and it doesn't really matter, but you just need to share and just keep on making and sharing. and see what happens, really. Because you might just connect with one person, and that's okay, or for yourself, just to be able. I feel like if you don't, then like it becomes squashed and like stifled. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think something that happened that I remembered when I did art at school. I did art until matric, and I recognized it happening in the Arty Parties, was that environment where you are focused on doing something else, you're sort of, and you also engaged in like the right brain sort of exercise, not the analytical brain. You start to have these conversations with people that you might never have naturally, because you're not thinking about having a conversation, and your brain is engaged in a more like lateral way. So I remember art class at school, like everyone, didn't matter if you were that kid or that kid, everyone just kind of had this big conversation, and it was very organic and natural, and you connected with all these people that you maybe would never connect with, and have interesting sort of conversations that you wouldn't naturally have. And the art was something that enabled that, because I think you were engaging like in another, I don't know why exactly, but I think it's probably something to do with the lateral thinking. I mean, it started with people I knew, and then I think once people I knew realized it wasn't like totally ridiculous, then it became an amazing way just to like meet people, and different people came, and inviting random people you met once, so yeah, it became an interesting like mix of people I knew and people I didn't know, and new and old friends, and yeah, there was a real nice mix of people.
Aren't they waiting for you now?
Well, I actually got a message from a friend yesterday. She's like, when are you doing the next one? Yeah, I'll do one when I get back to London in summer, yeah. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.